welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time to Sonic Project 06. We're doing an all stories any percent run. If you're on the YouTube, you're on my second channel, the Stelmo Show, in which is my, what I like to call the stream but on YouTube, where you can check out my daily content both in short form and in long form. You can find a link in the description as well to my main channel, which is going to have a new video by the time you see this. But the GDQ staff was nice enough to raid, so we're going to go ahead and do a sort of commentary run of PO6. And I'm a little bit out of practice, so we're going to do what we can. So Project 06 is a from-the-ground-up remake of the 2019 Unity engine developed by ChaosX and a whole bunch of other awesome people in the Sonic fan community. It remakes Sonic 06 and, in layman's terms, transforms it from the infamous broken game it was originally into the Sonic Adventure 3 it was always trying to be. We're going to start in Sonic Story, then we're going to go to Shadow Story, then go to Silver Story, because in the current version of the game, we only have the 28 stages, all of Sonic's story, all of Shadows, and all of Silver Story available. No bosses, no story, none of that, just some good old gameplay. What we're seeing right now is Tails. He's been vastly improved to where his flight actually works somewhat well. The really cool thing about Tails' flight is not only does it adhere to the action gauge, which is something you can see in the bottom right corner of the screen, but you can actually feather the button in order to gain extra height and distance. You don't gain height as quickly, but you do gain a lot more distance and height over the long term. Now we're in a Mach Speed section. This is technically a different gameplay style to normal Sonic. You may have seen me use the blue gem. We'll talk about the gems just a little bit later. But in these Mach Speed sections, Sonic is moving incredibly quickly, and I gotta have really good reflexes in order to make it all the way through here. We're gonna be seeing the yellow guy, more well known as Super Sonic, I guess, in other Mach Speed sections, but we do not use him here because in order to use Super Sonic in Mach Speed, you have to transform into him in the previous section, and then you only get one shot. So if you die during the Mach Speed section, you'll have to complete the rest of the stage as regular Sonic. However, the transform time for Super Sonic takes 3 seconds, and Super Sonic does not save 3 seconds in Wave Ocean Mach Speed because there's a lot of automation here. There's a lot of cutting corners like you just saw with Loop Skip and that kind of stuff. So we are not going to be seeing Super Sonic in this, but we will hopefully be seeing him for the rest of the run. But that's not it with the gameplay styles. We are going to be moving on into the next stage in the story, Dusty Desert. And Dusty Desert features Sonic carrying Princess Elise. So, unfortunately, while we have a lot of really cool moves, updated moves, and much better physics, and those better physics do translate over to the Sonic and Elise gameplay style, thankfully, we have a significantly nerfed moveset. So the main movement I'm going to be doing here is a light dash into a slide. The slide carries the momentum of whatever Sonic was doing before he did the slide. Light dash is our fastest form of horizontal movement, and for whatever reason, even though in the original game Sonic receives the slide through the anti-gravity chip upgrade, it does apply gravity, so if you're going down slopes, you'll slide faster. If you're going up slopes, you'll move slower. And if you're on the straight and narrow path like we are right here, we're just going to maintain that speed from our light dash. Sonic and Elise also has a shield, which allows you to walk on quicksand. It can damage enemies, do all that kind of stuff as well. We got 16.5 seconds of a load screen between each level, and I don't have any other commentators, so I'm going to find fun ways to stall out as we go through to the next stage. But anyway, our third stage, something that we really like to do here on the Stelmo Show is, anyway, chat, we are in White Acropolis. Get your cat gems, cat jams, cat jams, and Stelmo jams out. In addition, exclamation mark, jam and jam in the chat. Can iBots party along with us, and let's rave. Let's show the GDQ people how we rave around here. So you're seeing the fourth of the 4 gameplay styles for Sonic the Hedgehog here. Can you tell that when they were making the original game that they kind of had a lot they had to do? But anyway, this is Sonic on the snowboard, and we're in White Acropolis. You know, we've never seen Sonic snowboard down icy slopes before. Definitely not 2 times prior to this game. But anyway, a nice addition to the snowboard, in addition to not having to hold up on the control stick. In the original Retail 06, you had to hold up on the control stick in order to have Sonic move forward at all. But here, he actually has, you know, more, I don't want to say realistic, but more Sonic-like physics to where I don't have to hold the control stick forward every time to have Sonic move forward. What I'm doing is the kick dash. It's this little kick that kind of works like the spam dash. The spam dash returns in this game. It's just the spin dash, but I'm able to mash X to continue to keep my top speed. But we don't really need to do that as much in this game because we have the blue gem. So Sonic has 8 different gems that he can utilize, all of which give him an additional ability. Blue gem is definitely the most useful we're going to be seeing throughout the run, where we can activate it. It basically gives us an on-demand dash panel, and kind of like the slide with Sonic and Princess Elise, Sonic on his own can do a spin kick, and if you do a blue gem and then 2 spin kicks while you're grounded, you will refill enough of the action gauge, which again is that bar in the bottom right, kind of serves as PO6's magic system. The action gauge will refill naturally after about 2 seconds after you use it, and the spin kicks maintain our speed. So we're literally able to use the blue gem, do 2 spin kicks, and then our action gauge refills up once again, and we can just infinitely do blue gem spin kicks just like that. It's Sonic's main form of movement when you're not using other gems or things like that. Now, it may be common to wonder why, if Supersonic's an upgrade, why would we even bother with these other gems? Well, the answer to that is Supersonic is actually kind of a balanced power-up in his own right. While he is the S rank reward, so Sonic PO6 is technically a New Game Plus run, where we collect all of the upgrades beforehand because the gems are just kind of scattered around Sonic's stages. Where was I going with this? Oh, the Rainbow Gem. Supersonic is more of a jack of all trades between all of the gem's abilities, but he's not particularly strong in each individual aspect. So overall, the gems are better, plus the other 7 gems, rather. Well, not really the other 7, more like the other 4. Gems are better to use throughout the stages because not only can we quickly switch between them, but we can also utilize their more extreme attributes to go even faster than Supersonic can go. We'll still see him a lot in this run, though. Let's get the 360! Ho! Let's go, baby. The swag doesn't end there, though, as we're going to flip right around and ride down the rest of this section backwards. I call this swag board, usually outsigned by the 360, but we gotta give them, we gotta give the trick the just desserts, I suppose. Here in Section 2, we're going to be seeing a lot more of the blue gem, and this is also the best time to talk about the maturity meter. So while the action gauge, the big blue bar, is kind of like the magic system, the bar below it that's currently empty right now is the experience system. As Sonic defeats enemies in this game, energy cores from the enemies will fly into him. You just saw one happen there, and now a little bit of that bar has become red. Every 3 energy cores we collect, and depending on the strength of the enemy, they can drop more or less energy cores. The gem that we are currently holding on to will level up. Leveling it up just increases the potency of the gem, and that's going to be really useful because we're going to be switching to the purple gem, which gives Sonic an extra jump per level. So what I'm going to do is defeat these 3 enemies, blue gem away from their energy cores, switch to the purple gem, and as the cores fly into Sonic, it's going to level up my purple gem, give me 2 jumps, and I'm able to bypass some of the level design there. And now we get to head into Crisis City, Section 3 Sonic, which is definitely what I think of when I think of high-speed platforming. The flow here is absolutely incredible, and the blue gem jumps are awesome, combined with the amazing music that, of all the things PO6 changes, it did not change the music at all. It is still absolutely fantastic. And now we're going to be switching to the Rainbow Gem and utilizing Supersonic and Mach Speed. Supersonic is really useful in Mach Speed, not only because he's invincible, but he's actually 10 units of speed faster. And since Crisis City, unlike Wave Ocean's Mach Speed section, is literally a straight line with a bunch of debris just randomly thrown at you, it's way easier to do this section with Supersonic. I almost messed up there. For half a second, I had Mirror Mode, which is a mod for this game that obviously mirrors the entire stage. I had Mirror Mode brain for a second there, and I tried to move. Instead of avoiding the object, I accidentally ran into it. But anyway, even though Supersonic is incredibly fast, what we want to do is continue to light dash because it's still our fastest form of movement. And it's nice because it just kind of puts us on a straight path, so we don't have to think too much about our particular positioning in these Mach Speed sections. Additionally, as you can see, Chaos gave Supersonic the lightning aura from Sonic Adventure. So that's a cool little callback there. There's a lot of little callbacks you're going to see later on in Shadow and Silver Story specifically. You can see it in Sonic Story, but it's not quite as noticeable because it's only in White Acropolis, and the camera never really pans up for the sky, to the sky, but the moon is actually blown in half here. So that's pretty cool. Moving on now into my favorite stage in the entire game, Sonic's Flame Core. A lot of blue gem movement. We're going to be seeing some cool stuff with the blue gems functionality at level 3. Like I said, it's kind of an on-demand dash panel, but as you level up the blue gem, it sort of turns into more of a boost that you would be familiar with if you played the more recent Sonic games. Now, I say more recent. Sonic's had the boost formula since 2008. But while it's still segmented, it's not like we can hold down the button in order to just, like, continually boost with Sonic. We do gain this little shield that blocks us from damage. This lava normally lets us sink, but with level 3 blue gem, we can actually bypass the sinking properties while we still take damage and just, like, do a jump off of that, which is really cool. That lava river movement is my favorite movement in the entire game. It's incredibly fun. I'm going to try it again here, actually. This is something I need to do more of. It's just a little optimization I thought of like a couple days ago. And now we're going to head into Section 2. So Section 2, we're going to be seeing a new Amigo Knuckles, but not quite yet. We're going to do a bound attack up to the rail here. Grab this invincibility. As you saw in Dusty Desert and in this stage as well, some of Sonic's stages specifically, it's only for Sonic for whatever reason, have a Speed Shoes capsule. But it turns out that the Speed Shoes capsule is just so far away at the beginning of this section compared to where we need to go that just going over with the blue gem and grabbing the invincibility, or I guess homing attacking the rail and then grabbing the invincibility is actually faster. Knuckles here is a great character. He can glide and he can jump. He also has the drill drive working how it worked in Adventure 2 and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff because he's the combat-focused character of the game. And, yeah, that's Knuckles, the combat-focused character as he glides through 5 orbs to light the way for Sonic. Despite Sonic actually being able to hit those orbs on his own. All of the characters are coded to be able to hit those orbs with some attack that they have. But, yeah. Switch to Knuckles, I guess, for gameplay variety's sake, I suppose. But there we go, taking some damage in the final tube. Thankfully, not too big of an issue. And we're going to finish up Flame Core. Let me know, guys, especially if this is your first time. You liking the run so far? Let me know. You can type 1, give a thumbs up, tell me I smell. Doesn't matter. Let me know if you're liking what you hear or not. Moving on into Radical Terrain here. We're going to be using a lot more of the blue gem, and we're actually going to be using the purple gem as well. We used a little bit of the purple gem at the end of Flame Core, but it wasn't really too significant. Right here, we're going to defeat these 3 enemies, and then the energy cores are going to chase us, and then right after we finish this automation, we're going to slow down just enough to where it's going to give us those 2 jumps that we can jump right over to here to this crane, and then we get a goofy little slope jump off that crane with the blue gem, switch back to the purple gem, and then we're going to hit this switch. We're going to be switching to the Sky Gem, which is kind of like a grappling hook, but for whatever reason, if you throw it in the air right against a vertical wall, Sonic just basically gains a double jump. It's very nice. Has its own use outside of the Purple Gem. In fact, you can actually use all 3 jumps of the Purple Gem into a Sky Gem to just gain an obscene amount of height with Sonic. It's pretty awesome. But we're going to transform into Super Sonic here, hit this final lever, and then head into our penultimate Mach Speed section. There's only one more to go after this one. So we're going to have to say goodbye to Yellow Guy after that, but relish in it while you can. And there's not much to say in this Mach Speed section. After that short little section of platforming, it kind of just becomes a straight line. We're Super Sonic, we're invincible, so we don't have to worry about these exploding train cars. The only thing we have to worry about is the collision is a little bit goofy on the other side of this bridge. Sometimes Sonic can get stuck, so I just do a little jump right there. And so watch this game. Everything looks backwards. Let's go. Well, unfortunately, mirror mode is the backwards part. This is just normal PO6.
Just ate it.
Alrighty, moving on into our second and final. Oh, excuse me. Moving on into our second and final princess stage. This is Tropical Jungle. The worst part about Tropical Jungle and Dusty Desert is that they are incredibly open stages with really cool alternate routes between them, meaningful pathways that really, like, make you think about how you want to interweave the paths. That's one of the things I love about Sonic in 3D the most, is getting levels like this, where it's not only about taking the fastest path, it's also utilizing the 3D space to be able to interweave between paths. And we're going to be seeing that a lot at the beginning of Sonic's Kingdom Valley, which is his next stage. Probably the most iconic one from this game. That unfortunately he stole from Shadow Generations, but whatever. Unfortunately, though, for Dusty Desert and Tropical Jungle, you are Sonic and the Princess, so you don't get access to all of Sonic's really cool moves as you do these stages. Section 1 of Tropical Jungle here is nothing too special. There are some really good alternate paths, and this stage was actually one of the first ones worked on alongside Kingdom Valley. So you could definitely see a lot of love and care was put into it, and also just the graphical improvement from PO6 as well, because Chaos, you know, took all the original assets of the game, and along with the work of Beats, updated everything to look really nice and also gave it better lighting and shaders and all that good stuff. But as we jump into Section 2, we are going to be seeing some of that multiple pathway hijinks. We're going to start on the bottom route here and use the shield to glide over this water. Then we're going to come to the middle route of this rail, jump off of it, back to the bottom route, and then the coolest part of this is you're going to light dash slide all the way to the end of the top route and take these springs up to this rail and then hit the goal ring. That final part there was found by Kuriru. He was just like, what if we just hit the springs at the end of this route? Because Sonic can just run up the trunk to them. So that's really nice. A really cool optimization for this stage. Really fun, despite being just Sonic and the Princess. The route for that throughout PO6 speedrunning has evolved quite a bit. But moving on here into Kingdom Valley with Sonic, we are going to begin in what I believe to be the best design section, or best design level, best design section, whatever you ever want to call it, in the entire Sonic series. There's so many cool multiple pathways and just interweaving routes. We went from the main route to kind of the bottom route to the top route, and then we're even taking the topper route here, and we're going to be using the blue gem in the slope of the cave in order to get a huge launch like that. And then we don't need to take that eagle. We can just jump right into the stage switch trigger just like that, because only Sonic needs to collide with it. We don't have to take the eagle. And then we're going to switch over to Silver. Now, we're going to get a little taste of Silver in both Sonic and Shadow Story, and he has seen vast improvements from the original game. Well, depending on which way you look at it. If you've seen speedruns for Retail 06, Silver is actually quite fast and quite broken. But he's a little bit more broken still, but in a player-friendly way, I would say. Casual-friendly way. So what I'm using right here is ESP mode. We're going to be seeing it a lot in Silver Story and talking about it more there. All you need to know about it for right now is one, it's his S-rank reward, kind of like Sonic's Rainbow Gem. Silver and Shadow also have an S-rank reward upgrade. And it allows us to get longer teleport dashes because it reduces the cost of our action gauge by 1/3. And Silver really, really, really utilizes that action gauge. Heading on into Section 3 of Kingdom Valley here, a lot more linear than Section 1 was. Section 2 was also incredibly linear, but it's kind of Silver's tutorial stage because it's where most people who play 06 or PO6 will encounter him first. Is we are going to be just continuing that linearity here. And an important thing I need to do is I need to defeat this enemy right here, even though I don't need to for platforming's sake, because I need to get the Rainbow Gem to level 3. So just like all of the other gems, you can level up the Rainbow Gem as well, and that gives us the additional upgrades with Supersonic. At level 2 of the Rainbow Gem, he gets extra ground speed and additional jump height, and at level 3, he unlocks this Arrow of Light move, which gives us a huge air dash forward at the cost of the entire action gauge. The castle skip pog right there, kind of tripping over my words. We're going to be using the Arrow of Light 2 more times, once right there to bypass that section, and then there's this really long rail grinding set piece that I am going to go ahead and just jump right here and go ahead and do one more Arrow of Light right there. The Shadow Gens run went really well. I PB'd Amazon. I'm in YouTube mode. This guy. Well, GDQ was graceful enough to raid the channel, and I asked if people wanted to see a GDQ-styled PO6 run, so here we are. Which is kind of funny considering I just did this yesterday, but who knows? Maybe there's different people here. But anyway, moving on into Peak Fiction. I think that's what Zoomers say nowadays. This is Mach Speed Kingdom Valley, our final Mach Speed section. A great finale to Sonic Story, other than the fact that we have 2 more stages in Sonic Story after this, but whatever. Using Supersonic here, we are going to be... this section's pretty straightforward. It's probably the second most linear section, Mach Speed section rather, behind Crisis City, so you just get to experience. Wow, my favorite ending. What's up, Dasami? How's it going? Do it again. I wasn't looking. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to watch me do this again, I tend to speedrun PO6, like, occasionally. It's kind of what I'm known for on the internet by, I don't know, at least 3 people. So if you like PO6 speedruns, I recommend coming and checking things out. But anyway, we're going to go into Sonic's final full-length stage and head into Aquatic Base. So Aquatic Base is the hardest stage to speedrun. I also would say that it's a fairly difficult stage casually. Unlike a lot of the stages we've gone through, even in the more linear segments, there are still lots of shortcuts and different routes you can take. Aquatic Base is linearity to the extreme. You basically, unlike what I'm doing right now, you basically have to do stuff perfectly to get a really good time here. So hopefully after that initial botchment, we're about 5 seconds behind what I normally am in this stage. You will be seeing some cool stuff, like we're going to be skipping this ball here, hit this checkpoint just in case the purple gem is a little bit finicky. It's not really that finicky. It's just that with the purple gem, you can either hold down the right trigger in order to, and you can see it on my input display down below. You can either hold the right trigger in order to do the continuous jumps, or you can activate it just for the split second that you actually need to do the jump. So that's what I do. Saves a lot of action gauge. So we essentially get 4 extra jumps with Sonic for free. We just have to have the purple gem leveled up and equipped. But now it's Tails. Definitely the last time we are going to be seeing him in this run. He has no other stage that he's going to be in. We talked a little bit about his flight way back in Wave Ocean, but he also has the tail swipe, and the unique ability in this game, the tail swipe in the air. It kind of serves as his flight cancel for this game, that really cool ability that makes Tails super fun to play that's only in fan projects and remasters, and for some reason, 2-player co-op in Sonic 4 Episode 2. He also has the dummy ring bombs, which we're going to be seeing a little bit of in the stage that totally doesn't come after this one that features Tails, but we also get a second shot at seeing Knuckles as well. The main gimmick of Aquatic Base is these magnetic poles that are insta-win buttons. Any enemies that are near the magnetic poles just automatically die. I don't know why Eggman, in all of his wisdom, decided to put all of his robots protecting his egg carrier from launching right next to all these magnetic poles, but I'm sure glad he did, because it's really fast. Doing a cool strat there, so that room has like 2 different layers. It has the normal, like, I guess, walking layer, and then that little water that surrounds it. I guess it's supposed to be like leaking in some way, but it gives us just this little bit of height that allows us to do a bound attack and carry all the speed from the blue gem in order to hit those magnetic poles really quickly and get through that room. And as I explained the last room, we just did the first part of the next room, which was Knuckles, where, of course, the combat-focused character, we just jumped and hit the glide button. Yeah. I think Chaos might be altering that to where you're going to have to defeat the enemies in that section. And even though it's going to be slower for us overall, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to route out using Knuckles' combat abilities, because he has a lot of really cool ones. Seeing another gem right here, that is the green gem. It gives us an AoE tornado attack. Very niche gem. A lot of people don't actually run with it. I run with all the gems because I'm stupid, and it's my muscle memory. But most people only run with blue, purple, sky, and rainbow. Sometimes white, too. It really depends. We didn't see the red gem, we didn't see the white gem, and we didn't see the yellow gem either. Red gem slows down time, including Sonic, so it's not that useful. You're essentially just playing the whole game at slower speed. The white gem gives us the homing smash, which can be useful with the legacy jump dash type. I'm going to talk more about that jump dash type in Shadow's story. And then the yellow gem gives you the Thunder Shield, which is actually really broken and super useful for S ranks. If you're having trouble S ranking Sonic Story, I recommend going to Crisis City first, because you can go into whatever stage you want when you load up PO6 from a new file, which is really cool. Only a Sonic 4 fan would know that. Yeah, so about that. Anyway, we're in Tails' Wave Ocean here. The stage that we totally aren't playing is Tails right now. That doesn't come after Aquatic Base. Every character has an extra stage at the end of their story that's just an Amigo character going through one of the sections to pad out runtime. And while for the other 2 stories, it's a lot more unique, we're basically just playing as a character we've already played as in a stage we've already played as them in, which is kind of awesome. But anyway, here are the dummy ring bombs. It's just a projectile attack. When the item boxes hit an enemy, it throws out 10 dummy rings in a radius around the landing point, which does more damage to enemies. And Tails can just chuck them, and it's at no cost to him in his action gauge or his flight speed or anything like that. So essentially, if there are enemies around, there's no reason not to do that. Because probably my favorite mechanic in PO6, and maybe favorite mechanic I've seen in any Sonic game outside of Sonic Advance 2 and I guess Advance 3's Boost Mode, is energy cores, since Tails' flight rely on the action gauge, you can actually prolong your flight time by defeating enemies because the energy cores will fly into Tails. It's super cool and makes the routing super unique. 23:15! Let's go. That's actually 20 seconds off of PB, so really awesome to get. As we continue on into our next story, again, let me know if you guys are liking the commentary. Always seek to improve. If you watch this on the YouTube VOD, that I guess is happening now, definitely let me know what you thought of the commentary and stuff, because it's been a long time since I've done solo commentating. But moving on here into Shadow's story. So Shadow is pretty similar to Sonic if he didn't have the gems. He's got the spin dash, which is something he didn't have in the original game, which is kind of funny that I guess he just forgot how to do it between Sonic Adventure 2 and this game. But anyway, or actually between Shadow the Hedgehog, literally, I guess in the timeline, the previous game to Sonic 06, he forgot how to spin dash. But thankfully in P06, he remembers how to do it. Shadow is the combat-focused character of this game, just like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. And he's got a lot of combat abilities we're going to be seeing utilized throughout the run, as well as a unique ability with his action gauge that I'll be talking about more in Crisis City. But anyway, we're switching to our next amigo, Rouge, another combat-focused character. She is a lesser Knuckles. She has the drill drive just as before. She can also glide just like Knuckles. She also has bomb attacks that work very similarly to Tails' dummy ring bomb. And we're going to be seeing that a little bit. Well, hopefully we won't be seeing it, but we might in Kingdom Valley, because we're going to be doing some treasure hunting with Rouge. Or I guess rather key hunting in Kingdom Valley, and one of the keys might require us to use those bombs. Anyway, in the final section of White Acropolis, we don't have a goal ring. We instead have to destroy these 5 searchlights. So what we're doing here is utilizing Shadow's Chaos Spear. Now, unlike more recent games in the series, Shadow's Chaos Spear causes him to go to a dead halt. But a really cool aspect of the Chaos Spear that you're seeing right there is spear bounces. We can do up to 3 spear bounces in the air. But, what am I trying to say? I got distracted looking at the pretty colors of my live split. Anyway, Shadow can use up to 3 spears, and after he uses a spear, he gets a little bounce upward. Another cool thing about that is that when Shadow performs a spear, he can do another jump dash, regardless of whether or not he's homing attacked an enemy. So Shadow and Sonic get 2 jump dashes. I didn't talk about it a lot because it's really hard to see in Sonic's story, but Sonic can use a jump dash after a bound attack as well, with the Legacy jump dash type that kind of gives us a pseudo drop dash that allows us to go really quickly from the air to the ground, which is really neat. Similarly, with the Legacy jump dash, we're going to be jump dashing into the ground with Shadow to maintain his speed as well, or generally every angled surface, like we're about to do. Well, actually not right here because we have a light dash, but later on in Section 3 of Shadow's Kingdom Valley, we'll be seeing that. But here we are, it's key hunting time, and thankfully we got a really good first key. All 3 of these keys in Kingdom Valley specifically have 3 unique locations they can be in, including one of those locations for each key being their original spot, like we got for key 3 right here, sadly. Funnily enough, getting all 3 of the retail locations, it's what generally we refer to the original 06 as retail, is not the slowest key set. It's actually getting retail 1, retail 3, and then this key right here. So the reason being is that retail 2 is actually a lot closer to retail 3, whereas that key 2 is farther away, so it takes more time to get to, unfortunately. So getting pretty bad RNG on the key set there, but thankfully the first key wasn't the worst, because retail 1 is the key that takes the absolute longest to get to. Anyway, we're seeing one of Shadow's vehicles here. This is the hover car, allows you to cross water and sand without falling into it. We're going to be seeing a couple vehicles with Shadow, and because I think we're doing good on estimate, I'm going to go ahead and show off this little Easter egg here. If you stop right in front of this gate and take a peek in, you can see Chaos Zero is actually lurking in the shadows right there. Kind of neat. So, very cool addition. I believe that's his Sonic Forces model. And there actually is another Easter egg here in Shadow's Kingdom Valley, but I'll leave that to you guys to find when you try out Project 06 for yourself. I believe you can do !silver in the chat, and that'll send you to the download page. Do not download this game from anywhere that's not ChaosX's YouTube channel, because you will probably get scammed. But anyway, in Section 3 of Kingdom Valley here, we're going to be showcasing Shadow's Legacy Jump Dash. So Sonic and Shadow can have their Jump Dash type altered in the options menu outside of the gameplay. And there's 3 different jump dash types. There's straight, which functions exactly like the original game. If you're familiar with Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Generations, it's very similar to that. It's more Sonic Generations than it is Sonic Unleashed, because Sonic Unleashed, he kind of maintained his speed throughout the jump dash, whereas Generations, he kind of stops in his tracks at the end of his jump dash. Similar thing happens here. The Legacy jump dash, which is the one I'm using right now, is based off of Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog. That is not only the fastest jump dash, not only is it out for the longest, but also it preserves your direction. So if the character is moving upward, he goes up. If he's moving downward, he goes down. And we can utilize that with the double jump dash. So like I said, and we're going to be seeing it right here, we utilized the Chaos Spear jump dash refresh in order to get 2 jump dashes, destroy that tower, and skip a little wind rail section at the end of Shadow's Kingdom Valley here. A cool thing with Shadow is, as I mentioned... You know what? I'd love to say that in the spirit of GDQ, that has never happened before, but that has happened before. The shrapnel falling on top of Shadow's head there. But anyway, a cool thing we can do with Shadow is if we press the A button and the X button at the same time, and again, you can see it on my input display, you can bypass utilizing the spear animation and just get the second jump dash, which is really neat. But here we go into Shadow's Crisis City. Gonna be a little bit of familiar territory from what we saw in Sonic's story. Sonic's Crisis City, Shadow's Crisis City, and both of their flame cores are incredibly similar. Shadow actually has a unique final section to him and Silver. Silver's is actually unique in his own way, and hopefully beyond explaining mechanics, I'll have the chance to share that fun fact, because it's one of my favorites about the original 06 and, by extension, P06. But we get to kind of just let the spin dash do its thing, because Shadow is not on a snowboard here, because he had the right idea and took practicality over spectacle in this one. Now, Section 2 is going to be looking extremely similar, and also going to be our first instance of using Shadow's special ability, the Chaos Boost. By default, Shadow has 3 levels of Chaos Boost. In order to activate it, you have to completely fill your action gauge. He is the only character in which his action gauge does not fill naturally. You have to get it either from gauge up capsules or from defeating enemies and collecting their energy cores. Thankfully, coming right up here is going to be a gauge up capsule, which is going to allow us to activate level 1 of Chaos Boost, which gives us the Chaos Snap. The Chaos Snap is a really cool ability that has both platforming and combat usage. Shadow's little chaos attack that he does on enemies with more than 1 hit point does extra damage now, and Shadow just teleports to his targets, kind of like Shadow Generations while he's in Chaos Snap here. A neat thing, though, is that we can use Shadow's double jump dash, and as long as we're holding the A button, if Shadow comes into range of a homing attackable target, he will automatically snap to it. So what I'm trying to do here is utilize these spears. Oh, just barely missed it. Well, I can still explain it by doing the first trick again. Unfortunately, that trick is really difficult when you have camera volumes on, which are just, there are special camera events that have it turn a certain way, and you can turn them on or off in this game. When they're off, you can get a really fast spin dash inside of the building there and just go straight to the rail. It's really, really easy to do, but unfortunately, with camera volumes on, which is how I play this game, it becomes significantly harder to get. But anyway, so what I was trying to do there is utilize the fact that as long as I'm holding the A button, if a homing attackable target comes into range, Shadow will snap to it as long as he's in Chaos Boost level 1. Unfortunately, this is the only place where we utilize Chaos Snap. Shadow is just incredibly strong at base because of one specific move we're going to be seeing a lot in the latter half of his stages, because the enemies get really beefy there. Chaos Boost is just kind of shoved to the side, unfortunately, for most of Shadow's run. However, in the last release, I think that Chaos is... Well, I don't think. I know that he's doing a couple things to tweak Shadow to make Chaos Boost more interesting while not making him a slog to play with in base form. Kind of, at least for me, a person who's played thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of this game, is that Shadow is really strong at base, and Chaos Boost does not alter his abilities enough to really have them be useful outside of any niche use. We're actually not going to be seeing Chaos Boost level 2 or level 3 used in any meaningful capacity. Just level 1 and max level, which is his S-rank reward that we haven't seen yet, but we'll be seeing in the next stage. This is Shadow's unique section of Crisis City here. This is Section F. There's one unused section of Crisis City, Section D, And other than that, we got A, B, C, D, E, and F. Sonic goes through Section A, Section B, Section C, and Section E, and Shadow goes through A, B, C, F, and Silver has something special again I'll talk about when we get to it, so stick around. And definitely let me know if you're enjoying the show here. Unfortunately, the average segment's not even making me look good because I failed that trick. It's a really risky trick to go for because the checkpoint is really far back. You lose about 40 seconds if you do it. But of course, I got to do it for the people, right? But anyway, finishing up Crisis City here, we're going into Flame Core, the least unique stage in the game, because for whatever reason, Shadow and Silver's Flame Core has one unique terrain difference, other than enemy formations being different. And I guess technically the orbs that you light up with Rouge instead of Knuckles here are technically different as well. But here we go. I just landed on the platform that is the one unique piece of terrain between Sonic and Shadow's Flame Core. Other than that, it's identical, which is awesome. We are going to be seeing the maxed out Chaos Boost, and I think fans of the original game, and specifically Shadow's final cutscene, are going to be particularly excited here. In order to level up Chaos Boost, we have to max out the maturity meter again, and then we hit the right trigger and Shadow levels up. And then we are going to activate Uninhibited Mode. Uninhibited Mode juices up Shadow quite a bit. He's completely invincible, kind of like a pseudo super form. He one-hits every single enemy, which is really nice, especially with combat formations here. It makes things go really fast. And all of his Chaos Boost abilities are supercharged. So his Chaos Spear now turns into the Chaos Lance, so it can multi-target up to 5 different enemies, and it one-hits, which is just really insane. Additionally, the Chaos Blast, which is an ability we won't be seeing in this run, or maybe I'll show it off in Aquatic Base. There's actually somewhere where it is slower than doing the normal thing, but it could be quite useful and quite fun to show off regardless. Okay, just have to focus here for just a moment because this could be bad. I think we're okay, yep. So, an interesting thing about Shadow's Uninhibited Mode is you just heard that ping sound there. If you are not in automation or on a rail when your action gauge runs out in Uninhibited Mode specifically, in Chaos Boost, there's no penalty, just regular Chaos Boost. But in Uninhibited Mode, Shadow will incur a 6-second penalty where he will have to, like, do nothing and regain his strength. It's a really cool balancing mechanic, and while it's really easy to refill your action gauge, it can sneak up on you at the higher levels of speedrunning, which this is attempting to be. But anyway, we were able to bypass that by being in automation, which is really nice. And unfortunately, we're only going to be seeing Uninhibited Mode one more time. A fun fact, though, is that each of the S-rank rewards for each character use each of the 3 resources specifically. So Super Sonic, he uses the action gauge for his abilities, but his resource is rings. Shadow's Uninhibited Mode uses the action gauge, and then Silver's ESP mode uses the maturity meter, which we'll be talking more about when we get to his story. But anyway, Shadow, I guess, is so afraid of the dark that Rouge saved him by lighting up the path for him to continue through the cave here. What we're going to be doing right here is called a cage dash, where we just use the side of that cage to get a spin dash upward, which is really nice, and then use our double homing attacks to homing attack that enemy, scream our faces off, going down that tube, and hitting the goal ring. Moving on from here, we're going to be seeing Radical Train, again, the same way that Sonic went through it. Radical Train's just a little bit different. What we did in Section 1 of Sonic's Radical Train is going to be sort of flipped in a way in Shadow. We were saving the train in Sonic's story from getting blown up by some fire crates, but in Shadow's story here, we are actually going to be destroying the train in order to slow down, because this train is Dr. Eggman, whereas the train we saved in the Sonic story was actually a train full of civilians. But anyway, yo, what's up, Cosmic? Thank you for the streaks. I appreciate that. We are going to be using his ability, the Tornado Kick, here to completely decimate the train each time. And the Tornado Kick is the single most broken ability in the game. Yes, more than Super Sonic. Yes, more than Uninhibited Shadow. And yes, more than Super Silver. Because the Tornado Kick is absolutely insane in that you can activate it up to 3 times. If you rapidly press the B button, Shadow will do up to 3 combos with the Tornado Kick, in which its spherical radius, which means it can hit enemies above and below him, it will hit. In addition to that, it does 2 points of damage constantly per hit. It's not per each time you press the B button, it's just constant damage. It has an active hitbox, and the craziest part is that Shadow can do it in his base form. It completely nullifies basically the rest of his combat arsenal outside of niche uses like uninhibited mode and stuff like that we used in Flame Core. But it's basically the single reason that Shadow is so unbelievably strong. And it is really fun, but it also makes the combat sections kind of like dull because it's just Tornado Kick, LMAO, and you win. Cool little carryover from Shadow 05, or I guess more of a reference to Shadow the Hedgehog, is that while Shadow is in Chaos Boost, all of his vehicles have infinite ammo, which is really nice here because normally it takes 2 clips of the bike's machine gun in order to destroy the train. But with Chaos Boost, we're able to do it all in one, obviously, because we're not using any ammo. Moving on into Tornado Kick the stage, otherwise known as Aquatic Base, we're going to be using the Tornado Kick a whole heck of a lot. But just for the people, to be a man of the people, I will go ahead and showcase the Chaos Blast just once, because there is one room where we used to use it in the Shadow release before the Tornado Kick was updated to be absolutely insane. But you're going to see the power of the Tornado Kick right here. So we just decimate all of these enemies, and we're going to hit this worm below the surface because it has a spherical radius. And I just want to let you guys know that these purple worms have the most health out of any enemy in the game. And we're destroying them in like less than a second. It's absolutely absurd how powerful the Tornado Kick is. We're going to be doing the only interesting bit of platform in Shadow's entire stage here. This is my least favorite stage in the game. It's just very uninteresting, and Shadow's Tornado Kick definitely doesn't help. However, there is a really cool segment at the end we're going to be doing with some combat. So our little tease of Silver again, we're seeing his Psychokinesis here, where you can use to pick up objects and destroy enemies. And then after that quick little sprint, we're going to switch back to Shadow, activate Chaos Boost. We're going to destroy these enemies here. And then to showcase this, I'm going to activate level 2. And then there's a little gauge up capsule right here that gets me to level 3. And then in the center of this room, Chaos Blast! Definitely getting a bit of an upgrade from Retail 06, where it's more of the Chaos Flatulence, as was coined during Sonic and Sega All-Stars yesterday. It was very funny. It's actually incredibly strong in Retail 06 as well. It just has no visual radius indicator, and it's an incredibly short range. But thankfully, Chaos Blast has kind of been given its rightful power boost. Unfortunately, the animation is just so long that you can't really justify using it, especially when Shadow has the Tornado Kick. Like I said, even when the Tornado Kick wasn't busted in previous versions of P06, that was the only place we used Chaos Blast. We're going to be activating uninhibited mode here, and I'm going to shut up for just a second and let this combat section speak for itself, because it's really cool. And booyah! That finishes out that, and we get to see uninhibited mode in the results screen here, which is very cool. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, I believe this uses Dragon Ball Z sound effects, so that's hype. Perfect. More than Super Silver? Maybe. Just maybe. All right, continue on here into Shadow's Wave Ocean, just for a little bit of swag. Since I didn't have time to do it yesterday, I'm going to do it now. Normally, you're supposed to hop into Shadow's hang glider, and it's much faster than what I'm doing right now, and continue through his section on the hang glider, and it's pretty easy. The hang glider is really cool in P06 versus Retail 06 because it's free range, rather than it being on a scripted path like it is in the original game. It's pretty fun to use its missiles and like destroy stuff, but what's even cooler is utilizing the advanced tech with Shadow in order to completely go through this section without the glider, which is pretty neat. It's a little bit dangerous. There's a lot of stuff that can kill us without any rings, but thankfully there's actually a ring capsule right here. What's up, Luigi? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Happy Monday to you as well. Hope all the lurkers and VOD watchers are enjoying this too. What we're gonna do here is slope jumps are kind of funny in P06 in that you can actually get like a slope jump off of the smallest like inclined object. We're gonna be utilizing that a little bit later, but any incline that's like, I would say 70 degrees, I don't really know if 70 degrees is easy to visualize. More than 45 degrees, less than 90 degrees, I suppose. Closer to 45 degrees than 90 degrees. If you push the character up against that slope, they're just going to gain more jump height. I don't really understand how it works, but I really appreciate that it does work. But anyway, I'll table that conversation for now because we got Omega. Omega is probably the weakest character in the game movement-wise, unfortunately. He's got really slow airspeed. His ground speed is okay, and his hover speed is okay as well. Also utilizing the action gauge. Didn't do that in the original game. What's up, Sen? How's it going? What's up, Sanix? Nice to see you. But he kind of works as an amalgamation of his Sonic Heroes counterpart and the mechs from Sonic Adventure 2. We've got the pea shooter that can target up to 5 objects. For whatever reason in Shadow's story, Rouge, Omega, and Shadow all have abilities that target up to 5 objects. Well, I guess Rouge's doesn't really target up to 5 objects. She just throws 5 bombs. But anyway, cool detail about Wave Ocean as well is that depending on the story you're playing, it's set at a different time. Here in Shadow's story, it's at sunset. Unfortunately, what you're supposed to do here is kind of search around in Shadow's vehicle that we're not going to be seeing, the buggy, kind of just throughout that wide open section to find that switch. But thankfully, chat told me before this run where the switch was. So right here, we're going to be utilizing that slope fact and using that incline slope collision in order to get over an invisible wall that's there, completely bypass that enemy encounter, and do some admittedly really cool movement that another speedrunner of this game, Reverie, found. And yeah, we're gonna hop into the hover car. All of what I just went through is new level design for P06. This Wave Ocean and then the Wave Ocean and Silver story got some additional level design added to it. It's really fun level design too. As you can see, the route through there was pretty neat. A cool thing about that started in 06 and kind of ended in Generations is that the homing attack, if you homing attack a destructible object, or I guess jump dash a destructible object, you refresh your homing attack as if you hit an enemy, which is really cool. And you could see there in that final section of Wave Ocean is that I homing attacked a destructible rock, and it allowed me to refresh both of my homing attacks, which was pretty sweet. Here we go into Dusty Desert. What you're normally supposed to do is go through these pillars that kind of litter the entire left side of the outside of Dusty Desert here. The outside of the outside. Anyway, could have had a better choice of words. But thankfully, Chaos knows this and is continuing to work on this section to make it a lot more fun because it isn't very fun, and left a debug trigger there in order to just activate the door to the inside of the temple. And now we're seeing something unique that we haven't seen yet from Sonic's story. This is the inside of Shadow's Dusty Desert. Spin dash along these tubes, use the tornado kick to delete the enemy formations. Then we're gonna spin dash ourselves through here. Grab a light dash right there, and did I say it was Shadow's Dusty Desert? You play as Omega for majority of the stage. But that's pretty cool because if you were paying attention during the Mephiles cutscene in Wave Ocean, Omega actually teased an ability that he now has that he didn't have in Retail 06, and we're gonna be seeing that during this section. We got this pretty neat fight room here. We're gonna be pea shooting these enemies, using his melee attack to get up here, melee attacking these guys, jump in here, using the pea shooter twice, hopefully not getting owned. Did not get owned, thank goodness. Falling in the quicksand, thankfully, isn't insta-death. It would just be really slow, especially with Omega's slow airspeed. But we got that really cool combat room, and then we hit that switch to open this door. We're gonna just jump over this guy so that we don't take damage from him by hitting him in the shoulder. Over this, and just a bit more hovers. The Temple of Dusty Desert is extremely linear. As you can see, it's very boxed in, kind of like Aquatic Base. But now we get to use Gatling Guns mode. This is a really cool ability. Unlike Shadow's vehicles, where when you run out of ammo, it just takes a second and reloads, Omega does not refill ammo. He can only gain ammo from energy cores, so that's a really cool balancing mechanic. Thankfully, you get more energy cores by defeating enemies, which is what you'd normally be using this ability for. You can also use it to activate switches from far away that we use right there. Additionally, we're just going to be jumping on over to the switch, and we're going to be switching back to Shadow for allegedly Shadow's Dusty Desert. This is what I like to call the worst room in the game. No matter which way you slice it, this room just has platforms just really awkwardly placed to go through. If you mess up that specific route in that room, oh yeah, by the way, we just deleted another purple worm there. Again, most health out of any enemy in the game. That room with the sand waves, if you mess up any of it, it's absolutely miserable to get back on track, and you lose a lot of time doing that. But we're just gonna go ahead and spin dash a bit more, jump through here, and grab the goal ring. And that was the last of Shadow's full-length stages. Now we've got the... I need to take a drink here because my throat's getting sore. And now we've got the extra stage, Rouge's Tropical Jungle, coming in hot. Right up here-o. So, In Tropical Jungle, kind of like Kingdom Valley's key hunt section, Tropical Jungle also has to search for keys. Thankfully, the third key is always in the same location, which is really nice. So the other keys have 3 distinct locations as well. I just did a key check right there. And, oh, this key is actually in the best spot it could possibly be in, which is nice. In the original game, Tropical Jungle wasn't a key hunt, and you would literally just fly with Rouge from the beginning to the end. And there were actually ways in PO6 to do that as well. Oh my goodness, did we get the IL key set? We did. This is the best possible key set you can do for ILs. I don't actually know. There's 2 keys that can spawn on the other side of where I checked there, where I was trying to climb with Rouge on the... okay. Just everybody exploded there. Anyway, what was I saying? I don't know. 2 keys can spawn on the far end there. And I feel like it would be faster because if you get a key there, then there isn't the key below the final key. So I feel like grabbing that key when you're doing RTA runs, which is real-time attack, what I'm doing right now, using real-time. Well, technically, I'm doing loadless. It's just the timer, the blue timer you can see below my webcam here does not go while the game is loading, but the gray timer at the very bottom is the real time. But anyway, moving on into Silver's story here. My goodness, this game just moves so fast. We're going to be seeing ESP mode a lot more. Thankfully, we're doing Silver's story last, so I've already explained a little bit what he can do. ESP mode does a whole bunch of things, except for make Silver invincible. It gives him a lot of damage protection in ways like he's able to reflect projectiles automatically in ESP mode. He's able to immediately stun enemies so he can pick them up with the psychokinesis, and has like I think 10 more abilities. I think you can do exclamation mark ability in the chat, and it'll link you to a YouTube video I made with some of my YouTube friends that covers every single thing that all of the characters in PO6 do, but there is a timestamp for ESP mode for Silver. Anyway, tabling Silver for a minute, we're gonna move on over to Blaze. Blaze is a really fun character in this game. She has the ability to do a triple jump without the purple gem, I guess because she's, well, purple and pink herself. But she also has the Fire Claw, which kind of acts like her jump dash. However, does not adhere to the straight curved legacy that Shadow and Sonic's jump dash does, because it's just a little bit different. It's more like a dolphin dive, and also doubles as her homing attack, obviously, as jump dashes do. It's really cool, though, and really fun to move around with her, being able to do that. I'm trying to think of where to even talk about Silver. Oh, I get to talk about my fun fact. I remembered it. So, if you recall, I talked about how Shadow went through Section F of Crisis City. Silver also goes through Section F of Crisis City, except he actually goes through it twice. So this is Section F2, and what we went through at the beginning of Crisis City was Section F1. They divided it into 2 sections in the original game, and Chaos carried that over into PO6. Because Silver was so slow in the original game, they were able to get a bunch of mileage over just half a section. Now, obviously, it was probably to save on resources or something like that in the original game, because from what I understand, based on the comments that are in the files and code of PO6, Shadow Story was actually created last. So it could be the other way around, that Section F was kind of slapped together to become one entire section. But Silver's Crisis City is the only stage in the game where you leave one section, go into another one, and then go back into the same section you were just in, which is pretty cool.
If I can hit that ball.
Anyway, Tropical Jungle, really short stage, set at sunrise, which is pretty neat. And we're just going to barely just make it right there. Silver is incredibly governed by the action gauge. Everything he does, other than moving, jumping, and his little Psycho Smash there, costs action gauge to use. So meter management is an incredibly important thing in his run. I will say, though, that I think Silver is actually the easiest to pick up of the 3 hedgehogs, because his movement has no variance to it. If you have a certain amount of meter and you do a teleport dash, you're going to go the same exact distance every single time. Whereas maybe doing a spin dash jump, you might not get as much height as normal, and you have to adapt accordingly to what happens with Sonic and Shadow. But anyway, we're going to be seeing more of what Silver can do, including the Sonic Generation Psychic Knife that he uses in his boss fight against Sonic. Is a gameplay mechanic here, gotten through an upgrade that you get later in Silver Story. Additionally, if you're a fan or at least know of the original game, you may be wondering why Silver is spin jumping. That is due to an upgrade you can actually find in this stage here, the Lotus of Resilience. Allows him to spin jump and gives him the ability to use his teleport dash as long as he has action gauge for it. If you don't have the Lotus of Resilience, the teleport dash goes a set distance. Well, a set distance, rather, like, there's a maximum amount of distance it can go. But now we're switching to Amy. For her only appearance here, she's gotten the biggest glow up out of all the characters, to be honest. Probably next to Omega. She has gotten such a vast overhaul here. She has her hammer jump, which goes a lot more horizontally than vertically. Yes, the combat-focused character, Amy, and Silver, and Blaze, and Omega, and Rouge, and Sonic, and Tails, and Knuckles, and Shadow. But anyway, Amy, Oh, also, I should mention that jumping and batnik bouncing into enemies has been reintroduced into PO6 because in the original game, you couldn't do it for whatever reason. Because removing a core gameplay mechanic is really awesome and cool. The only character that can't do it is Omega, or if you consider Sonic and the Princess a separate character, they can't do it either. And Snowboard can only bounce on enemies as if they were some sort of plumber. But anyway, that was our only appearance of Amy. Her hammer jump goes a little bit more horizontal than vertical because she also has a double jump. So you can kind of emulate the Sonic Adventure hammer jump trajectory if you do a hammer jump and then double jump right after, which is kind of cool. It's essentially taking one move and splitting it into two, making it a lot more versatile, which is neat. Well, I guess that situation doesn't happen all the time, but it happens there. Another ability of ESP mode is when you activate it, it does a giant ESP blast that's kind of like Chaos Blast. That allows you to defeat a bunch of enemies, which I activated right there. And now we've got the ball puzzle. Dun, dun, dun. It's actually not that bad. In PO6, Silver has the ability to stop the billiard balls with a psychokinesis. You saw me use it here as well as in the initial billiard puzzle in Dusty Desert. Additionally, the balls no longer have a global timer. They only decrease when Silver hits them and nothing else. So, like, it won't bump into a pot or something and then lose, like, 5 charges or whatever. And finally, the ballroom there has had its level design adjusted to where it's a lot harder to actually hit it into a pit. It honestly makes Dusty Desert my favorite Silver stage. This one is really fun to go through and especially to optimize. But moving on here, we are going to be headed into White Acropolis once again. Probably the lamest stage, I want to say, of Silver Story. There's not really a lot going on here, but at least we get to play Blaze in the second half of Sonic Snowboard section, where Shadow plays the first half of Sonic Snowboard section. Unfortunately, the first half is way more interesting than the second half, because we're kind of already done. Basically, we're going to have an enemy encounter that we're just going to use Blaze's Fire Claw. She also has a move called the Crow Attack, which was mistranslated, and it's actually the Claw Attack, which it'll be renamed in future versions of PO6. Kind of works like Sonic's Spin Kick. He also has the Spinning Fire Tornado Attack, which will be seen in the next instance that we play as Blaze, actually, near the end of the run. Well, no, not the next instance. We actually play as her one more time before the final stage. But anyway, Section 2 of White Acropolis, we're going to be utilizing some of those sweet, sweet Sonic physics here. So, if Silver teleport dashes into slope surfaces, we can maintain its speed. And I failed it right there. That's like the first time I failed it ever. Of course, it was right now. We can do little rock jumps like that, which is really cool. Also utilizing slopes in order to get up to this section here. And then we can just teleport dash right over. What's up? It's May. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Remake Sonic 06 into a Devil May Cry game, for sure. But yeah, so we can do rock jumps here. Yo, Rev, thank you for the raid. How was your stream? Thanks for the good luck. I appreciate it. Were you playing Gravity Circuit? Oh my goodness. But anyway, we did another rock slope jump right there. Just missed it. That raid alert is great. Thank you. I really enjoy it. De-rusting Frontiers any %. Let's go. But yeah, GDQ gave us a raid, so I am doing a GDQ-styled PO6 run for the fans, and maybe not the fans, maybe the people who just left their computer on while they were watching the GDQ run and didn't realize they're actually on a different channel now. But thanks for being here, I appreciate it. Anyway, in fact, I just saw the view count go down, so you're welcome for the awareness on that. But anyway, Radical Train here, we get to utilize a hidden Gauge Up capsule, because Gauge Up capsules also have a second property in that they don't only completely refill your action gauge when you grab them, they also completely refill your maturity meter. The maturity meter for Silver's ESP mode, like I mentioned, how Super Sonic uses the rings, Uninhibited Shadow uses the action gauge, Silver ESP mode uses the maturity meter. When the maturity meter is filled up beyond that little hash mark, we're able to activate ESP mode. However, we're not able to increase ESP mode's duration once it's activated. Once we activate it, that's it until it's completely empty. So we kind of have to make the choice of, do we want to activate ESP mode really quickly for a quick shortcut, or do we want to have it active for a little bit longer in order to utilize its abilities for longer. So it's really cool trying to make that decision. Thankfully, in the speedrun, we don't have to make the decision too much because Gauge Up capsules completely refilled the maturity meter there, which is really nice. But now we're in Aquatic Base again. This, I think, is actually a lot more fun with Silver than it is with Shadow. But we will be playing with Shadow just a little bit, just like how Silver cameoed in the other two Hedgehog stories. We have the other two Hedgehogs cameoing in Silver's story. Shadow completely decimates that with Chaos Spear and a couple of Tornado Kicks, as usual. And we are going to head into a very familiar section that's just slightly different than how we did it with Shadow, or with Silver and Shadow story, rather. I guess they uninstalled and reinstalled springs or something like that. But anyway, we're going to be utilizing the fact that we can't refill ESP mode right here once it's activated to get a really long teleport dash throughout this section. And then I'm actually going to run in this door, into this door for a little bit, and that slows me down just enough to where when I defeat these enemies, my ESP mode will be gone and will completely refill so we can use it more. Additionally, the Flame of Control is also in this stage, which allows you to use the Psychic Knife, if you were wondering where that is. So activating ESP mode right here, landing on these really tiny platforms, actually a little bit easier to do with Silver than it is to do with Shadow, or with Sonic, rather, with his gems, to be completely honest. Silver has a slower top speed than Sonic, so he gets to... he's a little bit more precise in that regard when it comes to landing on tiny platforms. An ability I used right there is an incredibly niche move with him. That is the Grab All. The Grab All allows Silver to grab things with his Psychokinesis in a 360-degree radius at the cost of moving. While you're in ESP mode, you can actually do the Grab All while moving. But it's still pretty quick, and we can just quickly initiate a teleport dash afterward anyway, so it's not a huge time loss to use the Grab All. Because normally Silver can just grab stuff in what I want to say is like a 60-degree radius cone in front of him. Whereas the Grab All grabs everything around him, including stuff that's to the side and behind him. That's what 360 degrees means, Stelmo. Anyway, utilizing ESP mode right there to skip that ball in that section once again. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab a ring for safety because I feel like I'm going to do something really dumb here. But anyway, is this 3D in my 3D Sonic game? Get the hell out of here. As we use the Psychic Knife to defeat these enemies. And then one more ESP blast is going to open up this door and get us to the goal room. Very, very, very cool stuff. So we did, in the first 10 minutes, we did Silver's story. I explained that really poorly. The first 10 minutes of Silver's story is the first 5 stages. The last 4 stages are the last 10 minutes of Silver's story. The length increase between the beginning of Silver's story and the end of Silver's story is kind of insane in Project 06. Oh, I think I fired a Psychic Shot and missed there. The Psychic Shot is an additional ability for Silver in P06 as well. It's the default form of the Psychic Knife. You don't need the Flame of Control to use it or anything. And it has a little bit of a longer range. What am I doing? Need to grab you. Okay, we should be good. I have to be somewhat careful there, because what I utilized was that enemy drops an asinine amount of energy cores. So I was able to completely fill my action gauge, do a teleport dash, and the teleport dash is actually slightly faster than the speed in which energy cores go into Silver's character. So we're going to be utilizing it again right here, grabbing this Gauge Up capsule to refill our action gauge, Psychic Knifing through the wall. You heard some enemies die, and then we're going to run out of our teleport dash right there. Well, we actually didn't run out because I did it optimally. Is those energy cores flew into Silver right as we turned the corner there, because that slows down Silver just a little bit. Obviously, you know, lines, physics, math, and all that. I'm a math major, by the way, but you wouldn't know it just by looking at me. Anyway, we were able to extend our teleport dash both at the beginning and the end there. Silver's Kingdom Valley can be a really big reset point, especially when you're learning PO6 for the first time. Well, learning his story for the first time, rather, because we bypass every single checkpoint in Section 1. So if you fail either of those tricks, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. We're back with Sonic and Kingdom Valley, but we're going to be doing Castle Skip just a little bit differently. Because the route we take just does not get 50 rings with Sonic, and there's not enough enemies to fill the Rainbow Gem to level 3 here, we have to do Castle Skip instead with the Blue Gem and the Purple Gem. Now, while that seems faster to do than doing the whole transforming into Supersonic stick, it's sort of the same thing that we decide when we use Supersonic, where the transform time takes 3 seconds and does it save 3 seconds to be Supersonic. Transforming into Supersonic and doing Castle Skip in the end of Kingdom Valley Section 3 in that way saves more than 3 seconds, as well as already being in super form for Mach Speed, which is really nice. But here, we can't level up to level 3 Rainbow Gem anyway, because there aren't enough enemies in Sonic Section in order to gain enough maturity meter, so we just use the Blue Gem, Purple Gem strat. Blue Gem, Purple Gem strat is also a great backup if you fail to get 50 rings, take some damage, or don't have level 3 Rainbow Gem or something like that as well. Not that I would know anything about that. Moving on into Silver's Flame Core, his final full-length stage of the run, and then we've got our final Amigo stage. We're going to be having a short section as Blaze. This is just a little bit of an extended set piece, not only to play as Blaze one more time because she's really cool, excuse me, but also to give Flame Core a nice starting point, because in the original game, Silver just kind of starts right here in this random spot in Section 1. So Flame Core, kind of carrying over its retail 06 difficulty, is absolutely the most difficult stage in Silver's story. There's a lot of, like, really technical combat we're going to be doing right here. Thankfully, the second combat we're going to be doing is not as technical as the first one. That was actually suboptimal for that box to hit that enemy there. I wanted to stun him and use him to defeat the other guy, but whatever. We're just going to go ahead and go through here. One thing that I want to mention as we are doing a Badnik bounce, shout out to the Badnik bounce, to grab this invincibility, take the high route, and be able to teleport dash to go really fast along the river section here, is the runes we've been activating. So in certain stages, most of the stages with Silver, he activates runes in order to manipulate psychokinesis objects, or manipulate objects. They're not necessarily psychokinesis objects, but manipulate objects that are larger than he could normally. A cool thing we can do with it is the animation is kind of long, but we can actually cancel it by either jumping out of it or by doing a Psycho Smash. Speaking of, while you're in ESP mode, the Psycho Smash, while it normally stuns enemies in Silver's base form, in ESP mode, it's one-hit stun enemies, which is kind of nice. Little bit of an optimization right there, rather than grabbing the dude and throwing him down or whatever. But here we go into Section 2, which is going to be looking a little bit different than Sonic or Shadow's story, obviously because Silver has a more significantly different play style than Sonic or Shadow do. But also that we're just going to be going a different direction in Flame Core, and be seeing why, actually, this stage is called Flame Core. But anyway, we're just going to teleport dash. These platforms oscillate a little bit, so if we're really lucky, we can carry our teleport dash speed onto them, which is a kind of funny, really unique, I don't know about unique, I guess, but really subtle piece of tech. We're going to be using a rune cancel right here in order to zero cycle this platform, take some damage along this lava fall. While you're on, like, flat lava, your character will sink and you will constantly take ring damage. But for whatever reason, when you go against a vertical lava fall, you just take a hit like normal, which is really convenient there because we can then completely bypass waiting for that platform. Activating ESP mode for the final time here. We're going to hit this rune and utilize rune canceling one more time on top of the titular Cocoa Puff here. Otherwise known as the Flame Core. It's what it's actually called in the files of the game. We're going to be rune canceling one more time up there to get the very important and totally not swag dab. I'm going to try my best here. I don't think that was it. I tried. Thankfully, we got a dab in the previous run. Oh well. Unfortunately, it's just kind of random. You know, the dab is something that I learned about fairly recently, so I don't know if it's like Silver's positioning on the rune matters, or like if it's just a timing thing when the game decides to go into that cutscene. I really don't know. I highly recommend, I mean, obviously I highly recommend playing all of PO6, but I really highly recommend, if you can, get all the S ranks in Silver Story, because that cutscene changes when you get the Sigil of Awakening, which grants Silver use of ESP mode, and it's a really, really, really dope cutscene. But here we are in our final stage of the run. This is Blaze Wave Ocean. Kind of similar to Tails Wave Ocean, but it's pretty fun with Blaze, because Blaze is more fun of a character, and the level design's more catered to a Sonic-like character over Tails just flying over everything. But there's a little bit of additional level design at the very end of this section. This is probably PO6's best stage. I think it best showcases, not only with using Blaze, but also just kind of best showcases like how PO6 is different from the original game. Just in mood, in style, we've obviously got this beautiful sunrise skybox and sunrise lighting. What I really appreciate is that originally Chaos was going to have Wave Ocean Blaze be at nighttime, but ultimately decided to go for sunrise. But because story-wise, since while PO6 doesn't have the original cutscenes, it follows the cutscenes from the original game. It follows the story of the original game anyway. Blaze and Silver arrive at the past from the future at the same time, so because this was at sunrise, he made Tropical Jungle Silver Sunrise, which also looks great. So I really appreciate that the consequence of doing one thing led to really cool visuals in another. Here's some added level design here, taking a shortcut. We're going to be using the Fire Claw on this little rock here, and then sharing tech between stories. I'm going to be using the same sloped collision I used with Shadow to get a really big jump, and there we go. That was Sonic Project 06 All Stories Any Percent. Again, huge thank you to GDQ for the raid. I hope you guys, if this is your first time seeing Project 06 or seeing my channel, I really hope you enjoyed yourself. I love the absolute piss out of streaming and content creating, and you can see that on my YouTube channels. I'll go ahead and drop my socials real quick here, and then we'll see if there is a place where we can spread the love. You can drop a follow, hitting the purple button down below. You know, like the videos and stuff if you like Sonic, and all that stuff is amazing. So thank you so much for sticking around after GDQ raiding, and we're going to go ahead and try to find a Sonic streamer to raid as well. No, Various, I don't love piss. I love the piss out of it. Very different. Anyway, people on the YouTube, let me know what you thought of the run. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.